I don't even know if this was, I don't think this is necessarily leaked audio of Senator Gillibrand. I think that she had been a guest on a radio show. And of course, one of the petrified Zios called in and is concerned about their well-being, because eventually the boomerang is going to come back in their direction of what they've been doing, literally a massacre of the Palestinian people. And so this is a recording that was dropped either a day or two ago.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my call and question. I wanted to ask two very pertinent questions about the threats facing the Jewish community, unfortunately, from Zohran Mamdani.
All right, so right off the bat, what threats exactly is the Jewish community facing from Zohran Mamdani? What threats? What has he said? That he doesn't recognize the state of Israel? No one should recognize the state of Israel.
He didn't.
There was a bill that I was reading about.
No, go ahead.
He didn't even say that he doesn't recognize the state of Israel. He said that everyone should have equal rights in Israel.
That's the same thing. Same thing. Anti-Semitic. That's all that is. All I hear is blah, blah, blah. I hate Jews. Continue.
India, why do you hate Jews so much?
Why do you hate us?
That unfortunately he wants to target synagogues and Jewish institutions which donate to nonprofits, which are medical institutions like United Hatzalah and Magan David Adam, which is like the Jewish Red Cross. So how do we make sure that Jewish institutions are protected from his plans to punish and fine our institutions which fundraise these medical nonprofits, which do work both here in the United States and in Israel and other countries in the world? And also, how can we hold Mr. Mamdani accountable for his glorifying association of Hamas and other terror bombings of the Intifada in 1990s, where over 1,000 Jewish Israelis were killed, to his revisionist Holocaust knowledge, to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where Jews were mass exterminated and faced threats? He compared when Jews were killed to when Jews fought back against Nazis.
Okay, so I know Jen doesn't want to talk about this, and this is going to be a brief interlude to our conversation, but I'm just going to point this out. I'm not going to say who the representative is. All I'm going to tell you is that this is a person who represents a portion of South Florida and represents a portion of clearly these types of voters. Just under $60 million was what they were able to allocate from Tallahassee back to their state house district. Of that 57 million that they brought back, security funding in Jewish day schools, $20 million. If you can't see the scam, I don't know what you're looking at. So when they're out there barking and complaining and saying we don't feel safe, it's because there is a huge racket that they have been perpetuating on everybody. And I was even saying to Jen earlier, could you imagine what that $20 million could do for the disadvantaged neighborhoods in Dania and Hollywood, for example? A lot. In fact, it would change tens of thousands of people's lives like that.
Take this down. I'm sick of looking at this douche.
It's quite despicable. I'm sorry.
Gabe, thank you for your call. There's a lot in there, Senator, some of which may be inaccurate. So I don't know. I can't fact check everything in real time. But do you know any of that to be inaccurate or accurate, including the original premise that he would somehow target synagogues if they were contributing to groups like Hatzalah, ambulance services, in a way that he could hurt the synagogues? I just don't want to give out information that's false, but I also don't want to shrink from information that's true.
Well, the caller is exactly the New York constituents that I've spoken to that are alarmed. They are alarmed by past public statements. They are alarmed by past positions, particularly references to global jihad. This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of Jews create fear in our communities. The global Intifada is a statement that means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews.
Is that true,
I didn't get that memo. No, that's not what that means. That doesn't mean anything having to do with that.
What does it mean?
Intifada is rise up. And in fact, the Intifada in and of itself can be a nonviolent resistance and often has been nonviolent resistance. But the concept that it has anything to do, the narcissism of these people knows no bounds. Like, what about, we need a global Intifada. That's a global uprising. Yes, that's exactly what we need. And to say that somehow that is targeted to as in some sort of against the Jews is just so completely ignorant. India, your thoughts?
So Senator Gillibrand is my rep, and we have been going to her local office trying to talk to her about the genocide in Gaza. They will not open the door for us. She doesn't return emails or phone calls. So that's the kind of response that I've been getting from her. And also, she has taken $992,000 from AIPAC. So there's that. That's who she's speaking for, is for her masters, the people who own her.
Yeah.
So these are the kinds of things that if Mr. Mamdani is elected our mayor, we'll need to assure all New Yorkers that he will protect all Jews and protect houses of worship and protect funding for not-for-profits that meet the needs of these communities. Those are the things he'll have to do as our mayor.
He would certainly say that he has committed to protecting all Jews in New York as mayor of New York. Do you dispute? Do you doubt that?
Well, one of the issues I did talk to him yesterday was exactly this issue, and he has agreed to work with me on this and to protect all residents. So this is something I care deeply about, and so I will be an advocate on these issues. These are things that I think are important to New Yorkers, and I will work with him when he gets elected, if he gets elected, to make sure everyone is protected. I also, on the federal level, work to get resources for all our religious sites in the state and in the city. I lead the letter for funding for I lead the letter for the funding to protect synagogues and churches and temples and places of worship across our city and state.
I don't see mosques.
And these are things that he has assured me in my one conversation, that he will protect everyone. But I understand why people are concerned because of past statements. And so this.
Because you're a bigot and you don't know what you're talking about. Onward.
A couple of things to mention here. Before you came on, we talked about Congressman Ogles in Tennessee and how just completely overt his bigotry was towards Mamdani. This is the difference between the two parties, if you will.
Yes.
Is that the liberals are nicer with their bigotry than the conservatives are. And that's pretty much where it begins and ends. And would you say, from your experience as a Black woman running for mayor in Buffalo, that it's pretty much the same thing?
It's pretty much the same. It is. And I mean, like, Zohran has committed to protecting synagogues and places of worship. He always has. And I mean, I just want to remind you, this is a municipal race. He's going to be the mayor of New York. Right. Why is he being asked questions about foreign policy? Like, that's not within his purview as the mayor of the city of New York.
Don't tell that to the people who live on the Upper East Side of Manhattan.
Well, wasn't that sort of so obvious when they were having the debate and all of them said the first place they're going to go is Tel Aviv, and he was the only one that said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to work for New Yorkers. It was so clear that that was the correct answer and that the rest of them were such tools. And yet somehow he is the bad guy in that scenario. We're in the Hunger Games. We are.
The best one was like some no-name guy who was like, I'm going to be making my 4th trip to Israel after my 5th trip to Ukraine. I was just,
ridiculous.
That's a level of desperation for people. Don't you like me? You really like me? Like that's the total vibe that I got from that.
It's just an issue that I will work with him on for sure.
I just feel compelled to say, we can find no evidence that he has supported Hamas or has supported violent jihad, as that caller was asserting. Can you?
No.
Again, Brian, I don't have all the data and information, and I've never sat down with Mr. Mamdani. So I've asked to have that meeting. I'm going to have that meeting. We will talk through all these things. He can tell me his views of the world, and I can learn them firsthand. I think the reference that I had read was global intifada specifically, which has very serious meanings that are violent and destructive. So,
see, that's the thing. That's just inaccurate.
You are sitting, not only, and here's one of the reasons that Gillibrand is so nefarious, is that she's not just a sitting U.S. senator. And keep this in mind, and Indy, you probably know this. Gillibrand was gifted that Senate seat. She never earned that. Another wealthy white lady in the suburbs who became a very powerful person. And I don't hesitate to bring this up. When you're talking about a person who has that much power, but is that incompetent, what exactly is it that she's doing to warrant this amount of gravitas? And it turns out that Gillibrand is one of the biggest fundraisers for the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's all about. But where's she getting the money from? We all know where she's getting it from. She lives on Park Avenue and probably Battery Park. That's her entire life, is consumed with being around the richest of the rich and facilitating the party's financial infrastructure, of which we will never see any type of substantial populist working class change within that party. And Gillibrand is proving that, but she's also proving what a bigot she is at the same time.
Right.
Which he says, and I pressed him on this on the show on Monday, but which he says are not calls for violence, because Intifada is a much broader term involving all kinds of uprisings and resistance and things like that. So I just want to be clear about how at least he defines it. And maybe he needs to be more clear. I don't mean this, I don't mean that. He did say here that he didn't want to be the word police, even as the mayor of New York, if he's elected. But I do also want to be clear that he said he does not support violent Intifada. Is that fair?
So, Brian, I didn't hear your exchange with him, but if I was speaking to him directly, I would simply say that is not how the words are received. And it doesn't matter what meaning you have in your brain. It is not how the word is received.
Wait,
and when you use
by
the word
who?
like
By elitist white Zios?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, again, these are people that confuse unsafe for uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And they do not have a right to be comfortable. In fact, I take so much pleasure when they're very uncomfortable. But yeah, she just sounds like such a tool that it's not even real.
Very.
You can also tell she's a very nasty person.
Ugh.
Intifada to many Jewish Americans and Jewish New Yorkers, that means you are permissive for violence against Jews. It is a serious word. It is a word that has deep meaning. It has been used for wars across time and violence and destruction and slaughter and murder against the Jews. It is a harmful, hurtful, inappropriate word for anyone who wants to represent a city as diverse as New York City with 8 million people. And
Oh my God, and lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Like that's all I heard in that rant. She is off the fucking wall.
377,000 Palestinians have been mass murdered and counting. But your feelings are more important. Keep that in mind. If they can't wear their supremacist bigotry harder on their sleeve if they try.
And I would be very specific in these words, and I would say you may not use them again if you expect to represent everyone ever again, because they are received as hateful and divisive.
Oh, well, we wouldn't
and
want
harmful.
somebody's
and that's
feelings
it.
to be
So
hurt.
I appreciate that he told you he didn't mean that, and that's great. That's
And
a
I
great
think
place to start.
also clarify, or he was clarifying that he never said globalize the Intifada. He was asked in an interview if he would denounce the phrase globalize the Intifada. And then that led to this kind of conversation, that you were just referring to, but that he was never out there saying globalize the Intifada. He was asked about other people who used it. So just to be precise
She doesn't care about
what
facts.
happened there. Yes.
That's not of a concern to her.
I'm curious how she responds to that, because that kind of puts this in its whole perspective.
Well, as a leader of a city as diverse as New York City with 8 million people, as the largest Jewish population in the country, he should denounce it. And that's it, period. And you can't celebrate it, you can't value it, you can't lift it up. And that is the challenge that Jewish New Yorkers have had, certainly since October 6th. October 7th. It is exactly what they have felt. It is why Jewish students in our universities have felt unsafe. It is why Jewish students have felt that their schools did not have their backs and cared about them or their learning, because the people doing these protests use words that have meanings that are far more violent and horrific than they may have intended.
Oh my God, take this down. I can't with her anymore. I'm losing my shit. I'm hitting a level on the rage meter that is just not off I don't care. Like, this is the problem. This is the problem, is that this makes people uncomfortable. So the problem isn't that there's dead children somewhere. The problem is that these people feel uncomfortable. This makes me so insane. I can't.
And this is how you know that the genocide is going to break the Israel lobby in the United States. It's going to happen because they pay people like Snow Bunny Gillibrand to basically pretend like this is not happening, that all of it's look over here, but not over there. Why is it that there is so much fervor and anti-Semitism towards Jews in the United States? Because the people that are pulling the levers of power are 1,000% behind this genocide, as long as it benefits them economically in service to the Israel-United States coalition that they refuse to acknowledge is breaking. But it is breaking. I think you would agree with that, India, that it's definitely changing in a big way.
It is. It's changing in a big way. And, I just want to say that on June 17th, Buffalo police arrested 2 white men with ghost guns in the same Tops where the Tops massacre happened 3 years ago. There was no news coverage of it until 2 days ago. I'm assuming that they were probably casing the store to make an attack on Juneteenth. And we've heard nothing from Kirsten Gillibrand about that hate when it's against Black people or people who are not funding her campaigns. So This is very disingenuous, and the tone of her voice and the impassionment and the rage that she feels is so prescribed. It's disgusting. And I really hope and pray that she's primary when the time comes, because she's useless to us.
Yeah, but that's also the great.
So is your other senator. They're both. The truth is that there's very few senators that aren't useless, quite honestly. So very low bar. It's a very low bar. Jewish students, and by the way, India, you're somebody that's like involved in the community and knows a lot of people. Have you seen any credible testimony or evidence regarding actual Jewish students saying that they feel unsafe, or is it always people like Kirsten Gillibrand saying that that students feel unsafe? Yet I have not seen one credible, testimony, witness, anybody with a story. Have you seen any?
Nope.
Again,
that's the thing.
And the people that are saying that they feel unsafe, keep in mind, there are schools, private schools, that are primed for these types of not just Jewish students, but just very affluent students in New York, like Birch and Lenox on the Upper East Side. These schools cost as much as $70,000 a year, and this is grade school. This isn't college at some elite university like NYU or Fordham. This is regular day school. And this is those are the types of elites that are saying that they don't feel safe.
Well, this is what I would say to the senator. I would say, I'll tell you what, we're going to treat this like a triage. So when they get to genociding the Jewish students, we'll get over to you. Okay. In the meantime, we have something else we're dealing with. I'm not worried about their feelings.
We'll finish it up.
But when you hear things like Intifada, when you hear things like jihad, when you hear from the river to the sea, it is received as slaughter the Jews and destroy Israel, period. It's how it's received. And if you talk to any group, you talk to our LGBTQ community, you talk to our Black community, you talk to our Hispanic community, there are words and there are imagery and there are things that are said that they will hear it and feel it as a dagger to their throat. And so if you want to be a leader, you have to recognize how these things are felt and received, and saying there should be no word police is irresponsible. Because as a leader, you have to protect everyone. Period.
And that includes censoring.
One more thing before you go.
Nobody
for you as a member of
get hurt. That as somebody who is like a free speech absolutist, that the entire concept of that is infuriating me. If your feelings are hurt by hearing something, walk away, change the channel. I don't know what to tell you. Get some therapy.
You could have just said, yeah.
Don't talk about what Black people think or what LGBTQ people think. Talk about what white suburban privileged women think, because that's the only frame of reference you have, sis.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, she's got some nerve.
Kirsten, you could have just said you're not supporting Zohran in the general election. You could have just saved everybody that big stupid rant and just say, he's just not my cup of tea. I'm not supporting him. People would have had a lot more respect for you if you just said that. But hey, you know what? Let it fly. Just let it fly. I get so tired. If you don't want, for example, if you don't like Black people, then just fucking say it. Don't pretend like I'm going to say that I like them, and then the next thing you know, they're passing legislation which directly hurts their community. Just say what you're really thinking. Gillibrand, if I could give her any credit, at least she's letting her bigotry fly. Like, she's not hiding.
They all are. That's what I like about this. It's very nice. I like to know who the bigots are.